being 13 years sober, and I remember exactly how I relapsed. I had a little house. Two ladies, their car break down at Leschi Park, right across the street from my house. Black lady, white lady. I was like, damn, it was cute. I was like, oh shit, y'all come on. You need some help. Car was overheating. Yeah, come on. You got anything cold to drink? So I go and get them to drink. I'm looking, I'm like, shit. And they had that look, you can tell they was in the mix. They said, hey, can we, do a little something? I don't give a fuck, man. Bam. One hit is all it took. I'm back off to the races. 6 months later, I was homeless.
Wow.
Welcome, Sober Champs. Thank you for giving us your time, man, your energy, coming down to Pioneer Square to Color Studios. We're on episode 5, man. We made it past the first 4, and we're on 5. So 5 is my favorite number. So obviously we got to get Larry in here for the hot one. What's up, Rude? What's going on, man? How you feeling?
Man, happy to have Larry here, one of my best friends in the whole world, and it's I'm just hyped. I'm got 2 of my best friends in the whole world right here at the table. So, man, we're gonna have a good discussion and chop it up. And happy to have you here, Larry.
We're family.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is even more special because you're family that I've grown to love and be family with. So that's even more special for me. Pedro, I'm still working on you.
I'm definitely like a stepchild here. I understand that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm part of the family.
Hey, that's right. We family too. We family too.
Right.
We locked in. So my door is open 24/7 for you.
I know,
And
man.
if my ass is on fire and I need somebody to call, I'm gonna call God first and then you second. Okay?
Hey, that's all
Or
right.
Third.
That's okay. Third, I could be third. Hey, as long as I'm in the lineup,
You
man,
in
I like
there,
to
you
play.
in there.
I
Hey,
like to
just
play.
stay ready, okay?
All right.
Stay ready if I need you. You never know.
If I stay ready, I ain't got to get ready.
There it is.
All right, man. So today we're just gonna have a nice discussion, talk about some life stuff, how your journey's been, what you've been up to, and being Sober Chance, we're gonna hear some pretty nitty gritty stuff, hopefully, and so that being said, let's get to this. So you got a sober date?
I don't know what it is. I've been sober
Interesting.
11, 12 years, 13 years. So I'll back up a little bit. I mean, I can go way back, but
You can go way back.
yeah, I go
That's cool.
way back. I was born in Los Angeles in 1961. I grew up in the 60s and 70s in South Central Los Angeles, Watts. I remember the Watts riots, times like that. Family of 13. I'm the youngest of 13. So pretty much raised in a way by my older brothers and sisters. We're all still close. We only lost 2 out of the 13.
Or your mother and father, were they
mother
together?
and father, they weren't together.
Okay.
They broke up after me. They had been together, and then they broke up. They got back together for a minute. Mom got pregnant, had me. This was a 3-year break from my nearest brother.
So you're number 13?
I'm number 13,
Oh,
and the closest one to me is 3 years older. So
Right.
they had a little intermission. So moving ahead a little bit, grew up in Los Angeles. My dad was gone. My mentors and people I looked up to early on that I can remember 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 were pimps and hustlers and cowboys. I say cowboys because that was one of the escapes I had growing up in Los Angeles, away from the gangs, the Crips and the Bloods. I had an outlet to go to the horse stables, which was in our neighborhood.
In the city?
In the city, right in the city. It was some horse stables there that would allow people to go on trail rides. So my older brother, who is a bull rider, a world champion bull rider.
Really?
Yeah, he did that. We'll get into that that's another episode.
Yeah.
But he's the first and only African American world champion bull rider in the Rodeo Hall of Fame. So that's who I look up to a lot.
How much older is he?
4 years.
Oh, 4 years is you.
He's 4 years older than
Okay.
me.
Okay.
So I would follow him to the horse stables. My other brother and I, Chris, would follow Chucky to the horse stables to kind of stay out of, a lot of the shit from the gangs. And eventually I kind of made my own way around the horse stables. I was small. I would ride horses and clean stalls, hustle, that kind of thing. And there were just people who owned horses who would board their horses at these stables. There were pimps, there was actors, people, business people from all walks of life. They had their own private horse. They would board it at the stables, and during the week, I would, after school, skipping school, I would kind of assist in caring for their horses. I would go clean out the stalls. I'd walk their horses during the week, and they would come down on the weekend and pay me. So that kind of thing. That's kind of how that started.
So is that how you kind of did you join gangs or you kind of stay?
Yeah. Well, in L.A., it didn't matter. It wasn't a matter of joining or not joining. You were pretty much affiliated based on where you lived.
Right.
And people kind of knew where you lived by going to school. So I went to a school called Gompers, which was right in the middle of Main Street Crips neighborhood, and where I lived was Athens Park, that was kind of what was known back then as the family. So the Bloods is what they call them now. It kind of later kind of got a little watered down version of what it is. So where I lived was Bloods. So a lot of the guys that I played baseball with or their older brothers, they were Athens Park boys or they were Bloods, so to speak, Pyru, that kind of thing. So the guys knew we lived by Athens Park, so therefore we were part of a rival neighborhood or gang. So that's kind of how that went. So I would, to avoid some of that, I played sports, talk shit, as a little guy. I was probably the littlest guy. You probably can't imagine that. I was one of the littlest guys in our little group of guys that played sports and went down to the stables. One person that really sticks out for me at the horse stables was a pimp, Paul, and he took me under his wing just because he probably remember I didn't have a father at home with me at this time. My father was in Seattle or in Alaska. He wasn't living there, so. And my mother was working at night, and I had older sisters, and they were all doing their own thing. They were pretty much gone by the time I was, of that age. And they had their own kids, had their own life. But this pimp, he took a liking to me and mentored me in just some of the ways of life. And I remember just kind of some of the visions of being with Paul. Him having me take care of his horse during the week, and then he'd come down on the weekend, or at night or during the evening, and he had bank rolls of money, and he would, he'd break me off a little something here, Larry, okay, but take your ass to school tomorrow. He kind of stayed on me, taking school, taking care of myself, being respectful. But he would also take me on his rounds at night as he collected his money. I remember going up to Sunset Boulevard, Hollywood, all through there, where he would make stops of the ladies of the night that had been on the streets, turning tricks, and he'd go by, just like you stopping at a store or a bank to withdraw money. He'd go pick up his package. Come on, Larry, we gotta go pick up some packages. So he'd stop. We'd start at midnight. He'd swing by in his 73 Eldo, pick me up. Come on, Larry. I was 9 years old at the time. My mother, she'd be working midnight or graveyard, and she might spend the night over her man's house. So she wasn't home.
So you're home, like who?
What? No. Yeah.
You just running around.
Right.
You just
Right.
running
That's
around.
right. That's right.
9 years old.
9 years old.
Off the porch.
Off the porch. Come on.
Ooh.
Yeah. My brothers, they was going doing their thing. One brother was gang, my other brother was doing, shit.
You smoking weed or anything right now?
Yeah, probably. Was
okay.
I smoking weed yet? Probably, maybe not. Probably wasn't really smoking weed yet.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't smoking weed yet.
Yeah.
Not at 9. I didn't really care for it as never really. But
So you're making your rounds.
and
His name's Paul.
His name was Paul.
Yeah.
And Paul had some gay guys that worked for him. And I think they were trans. And they dressed up as women, and Paul would pull up and talk to him. Hey, baby. Hey, daddy. Hey. And he'd kiss him. And they give him his money out. You know, I'm looking as a 9-year-old, I'm looking at that. I was like, wow. It just amazed me to see that. And he'd get in. He said, he seen the puzzled look on my face. He said, Larry, they make more money for me than anybody out there. You know, I want you to understand the relationship, how you respect people. It don't matter, their lifestyle. And that taught me early on that nobody's irrelevant and everybody is somebody. So that left a mark on me, to say the least, on, you know, just about how to interact with people. And, of course, some game. I mean, the amount of game I learned from Paul, from shooting dice to hustling to, you know, just being yourself. And he wasn't like a lot of the pimps and hustlers back then, because there's a lot of guys, what they call guerrilla pimps back in the day. He was kicking women's ass, taking the money. Paul, he never did that. I never seen him hit a woman. He never did anyway. It wasn't his style. He was sweet. That don't, you know, it's watering down, of course, maybe glorifying it, but I'm just telling, that's just a story.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not glorifying it. It's just, you know, that's just part of my story and part of who I am. And that's part of what made me the person I am today. Those experiences in life I can't turn away from. Also got to be part of friends with my older brother's friends. You know, things that they did affected me as well. You know, the way we talked to each other, the way they interacted, the way I approached women. So experiences I got to have at a very young age. So that left a mark on me as well. Moving on a little bit through junior high school, early on I was a good student. And then probably from 7th grade, end of 7th grade to the summer to the beginning of 8th grade, there was a change. I went from being probably an A student to, you know, not really caring a lot.
Did high school in California?
I didn't go to high school in California, so that's what I'm saying. So from 7th grade to 8th grade, I made a change, and then 9th grade, my mother decided she wanted me to go live with my dad. 8th grade, actually. And so that summer, I was going to go live with my dad, but there was an incident that stopped that. So some partners of mine, it was 3 of us. We hung together pretty much all day, every day. We hustled, did whatever we could do to make money. So we, 7th, 8th grade, I'm selling weed now and just hustling, doing whatever. Still going to the horse stables, but also there was that other influence too. So my mother said, I'm gonna send you to live with your dad this summer. So before I got a chance to do that, some friends and I, my 3 partners, we broke into this guy's house and stole his guns. He was in the Army, so he had a catch of guns. We had cased him out for a week and we did footwork. I mean, we were deviant. So we planned it, broke into his house, took the guns, and we each took one. And I was showing one of the guns to one of my older brother's friends. And as I was showing it to him, my older sister walked through the front door, which our house is 900 square feet. So you can see from the back to the front, and just from standing in the front door. She walks in the front door. I look up. When I looked up, the gun went off and shot me in the leg. So yeah. So I dropped it. I don't remember what happened after that. I go to the hospital. Police, where'd you get the gun from? Where you get the gun? I'm groggy as I don't know. But bullets in my leg. And so that bullshit they tell you about, you see people running with bullets in their ass and all that, that's probably some bullshit. That leg was in my leg, man. My whole body was on fire. So anyway, that stopped me from going that summer to live with my dad. My other brother, Chris, went in my place because he was fucking up too. He was a little higher. He was knee deep in the gang culture. That was his thing. So my mother was probably relieved to get him out of there. I mean, we had he was so deep the other gangs knew about him. They did drive-bys on our house. One of my sisters got shot.
Yeah.
She lives. She's still alive. But yeah, he got out of there and went to live with my father instead. The next year,
Where did he live at the time? In Seattle?
my
Your
dad,
in
he
Seattle.
lived in Seattle.
What was his job? You said was he a fisherman?
My dad was a painting contractor.
Okay.
So, granted, growing up in L.A., I didn't have no trade. I didn't really have visions of what future, college, none of that was even a thought. So, when my mom sent me to live with my dad, it was a culture shock in a lot of different ways. I had never had that father figure. I would only see my dad growing up once or twice a year. He would come from Seattle to Los Angeles, in a nice new Cadillac and, wad of money. He would give us a little money, give us Christmas gifts. I maybe see him in the summer, and then he may come down for Christmas. He had kids. Well, he had 8. There was 8 of us. My older sisters, they were all pretty much grown. So it was my other 3 brothers and us, Chris, David, and Charles. So anyway, I went to live with my dad the following summer, and it was really a hard awakening for me because the first thing, I had never been around my father like that. I didn't know him, and when I get to Seattle, he's living in this big house in the Seward Park area, which is a real nice area.
Shit.
I mean, swimming pool and all that. Granted, the house that my mother and my 3 brothers and I grew up in was probably 900 square feet. We had been on welfare my whole life. My mother would sell fish dinners to hustle, and she did things to hustle and make money. And I get to Seattle live with my dad. I'm seeing this. I'm like, God damn, this motherfucker been living like this, and we've been living like that our whole life. And I was really angry at him, and I told him, I cussed him out. I was like, I told him, motherfucker, you been living like this, we've been living. And my dad, he came right back at me. He said, look, I understand. Hey, man, I ain't been in your life. I can't do nothing about the past. He said, but what I can do from this point on, I can teach you how to be a man, and I can teach you how to work. And he did. That's if I had one thing, not one, I have a lot of good things to say about my dad. But the one thing he taught me was how to work and how important family is to you, even though he didn't show that early on in my life. I learned a lot about how family is and work. And then my father, one of his greatest gifts that I believe I inherited from him was his ability to read and understand people, intuition into people, and his ability to treat people, no matter what walk of life they were from. He was one of the first black contractors in the Seattle area, one of the largest.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, Seward Park, like, that's...
back in the 70s.
Yeah.
In the 70s, 80s.
Like how many black families are in Seward Park at that
Probably
point?
none, mostly Jewish. It was mostly Jewish. And
Why do you point at you?
Because he's Jewish. Shit, what the fuck? That's my partner, Rudy.
He said he's Jewish.
Yeah, he knows that.
Hey, Rudy.
I need him to validate that. That's what's in Seward Park.
I wasn't one of the
wasn't one of his
Seward
family.
Park
Seward
Jews.
Park?
Yeah,
Oh, man, I'm like, hold up,
it
man.
wasn't his family, no. Fuck no. But
That's funny.
anyway, so our neighbors, we see Sabbath, everybody's walking. I didn't understand. A lot of the people I grew up went to Franklin with were Jewish, and they helped explain to me the part about the Sabbath and why, there's certain traditions on Saturday and things like that happen. So you got a little bit of understanding about that. It was all new to me. Some
Right.
little motherfucker coming from the hood in L.A. It was all straight new. Like, damn. So
Has now, quick question: have you done any? Are you drugging yet? Are you drinking? Are you
Just,
is there any consequences for your actions of
Yeah,
drinking
yeah,
and drugging?
no, yeah, not really.
Okay.
You know, I'm smoking a little weed. That wasn't really my thing. I smoke weed because everybody smoke weed. You know, I didn't have to have it. My brother Chris, he wake up in the morning, first thing he reach for a joint. For me, I didn't want it because it made me lazy, made me sleepy.
Right.
And I always had a lot of hustle in me, so I didn't like that slowing me down. I would drink some. My dad had like beer keg. He had keggers down. We drink. Me and my partner, he come over. We drink. You know, some. Not really. It hadn't gotten to the point where it had always been prevalent by everybody. I mean, the barbecues in L.A., drink shit. It was all kind of fucking drama and turn up from people drinking. So it was definitely a vision in my life. I didn't like what I saw when my mother would drink. I just didn't like what I saw when my dad would drink. How he would get angry and violent, talk shit to my stepmom, and they, it was all. I just didn't like what I saw with drinking.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, I hated that.
That ain't it.
I hated it.
Yeah.
So, that's probably why drinking never really was hard for me to quit, or I could take it or leave it. And that wasn't, my thing, drinking. And I'll skip over a lot of stuff to get to this point. For me,
hold on. You don't have to skip over it. This story is beautiful.
Okay.
So you're in Seward Park and your dad is like, yo, I'll teach you how to be a man and I'll give you some work I'll teach you how to work. Mm-hmm. And so now you're in Seward Park. See, I grew up on Capitol Hill.
Okay.
I know the area real well. Rude, Beacon Hill over here. And so so now you're in this environment. You're going to Franklin, you're saying, and so I'm a Garfield guy. You guys are Quakers over here, so
I went to Garfield.
Oh yeah, let's go. Come on.
So anyway,
the tides turn, baby.
I'm going to work with my dad, man. He's showing me. I'm loving it because now, shit, I'm making money. I'm hustling. I never was lazy. I always liked to hustle, but now I'm learning how to do something.
Right, you get a
trade. I'm getting a trade. Not only that, my dad loved me. I was his youngest son. He's showing me not just how to work. He's showing me business. He's showing me how to think, how to live, how to communicate with people as I get older, going through high school and things. My dad, I remember him taking me into contract negotiations with construction companies, talking about multi-million-dollar projects. And I'm seeing these huge lump sum checks he's getting. And he would ask for a draw to start a project from the contractor, and they negotiate that. And he said, okay, I'll send my son over to pick the check up on Friday.
Ooh.
And I go pick up a check,
$100,000. You see that check.
I'm seeing it.
You see the check.
So I'm like, and so it got to be where I wasn't starstruck seeing those big numbers. And he's teaching me business, and he is putting me in a position of responsibility and trust. I also had a hunger to learn how to paint, be a better painter. We're going to Alaska. We're traveling around the country, doing commercial work, learning that. I started making money. And then backing up a little bit in Seward Park, I started playing sports and started playing tennis. I was a tennis player. Played on the tennis team. I was competitive. Competitive juices flowed in me. I was a pretty decent tennis player, but just wasn't disciplined enough to take it to the next level. And my dad, you taking your ass to work.
Right. So, right, you're not making any money in this tennis thing. Yeah,
exactly. That's just the way it was back then.
No, I totally get it.
Probably was the right move.
Yeah.
Because I would have been wasting time. But I enjoyed it. I like being competitive. So wound up switching from Franklin, going to Garfield, played on the tennis team, finishing school, kicking off painting career even more after 18. Left my dad for a minute, kind of beginning of manhood. Went to work for Boeing as a painter, painting airplanes
Okay.
for about a year and a half. When I started at Boeing, I'm independent. I'm not, I'm not working for my dad. That was in 80. So that was the beginning of crack, cocaine, freebasing. Actually, it wasn't crack. It was freebasing was started. So that's where I met that. First time I did that, I was like, ooh, I found my thrill.
Yeah.
Hey, that
On
was
Blueberry
it. And I had,
Hill.
and I had a good
Yes,
job too, so I could afford it. A guy came over. First one was free. Man, he showed us how to do it. Did all the shit, and we watched him how he went through this fucking ritual of getting it ready, and man, coaching you how to use it. Nope, slow down, speed up, do this.
You're getting trained in it.
You're getting trained. That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And man, I got knee deep into it. I mean, it was like instant and instant addiction, because it was just so amazing, the feeling that it had on me. And that was 1980. And I didn't look back probably for 30 years.
What?
Yeah. It had to
Really?
be. Well, let's see.
So you didn't try to.
When did I get sober? The first time I got sober, so 80. So it had to, I went straight through till I think I got sober the first time. Kind of, had some painful days like, fuck, I need to quit. I mean, all the havoc and wreckage that I was creating. My dad, he didn't trust me after I got deep into my addiction.
Were you ever homeless, or like
Oh,
what's
yeah.
what's one of the bottoms that you were hitting? Because
80. Oh, let me back up. In 80, I started and I was still functional, working at Boeing, and then eventually, probably within 2 years, I had pretty much 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, because I'd go to work for my dad, and I'm making $1,000 a week. I'm broke Saturday night. I spent up all my money. I'm making good money, working, painting, doing construction sites. He sent us up to Alaska to do painting. Shit, had packages delivered up there. I'm making $2 or $3 grand a week in Alaska, and we found a way to get cocaine up to Alaska. I'm still a functioning addict because I'm still working. I still, can make money. And the thing about having a trade, you can be broke and you can still go hustle up some more money. So
right.
I didn't have to go sell no dope to keep my addiction going. So moving on to probably 84. That's when, man, I'm getting close to my first bottom. My brother, the bull rider, he had won a world title in 82. So, and he's riding high 83, 84. And he would come up to Seattle they'd have rodeo at the Kingdome or something. He'd see me, he's like, man, you can see, man, fuck, my little brother is fucked up. So he said, man, why don't you come live on my ranch? This is in 85. He had a ranch in Arizona, 20 acres. He had horses, bulls, all kind of shit. Man, why don't you come live on my ranch and, get your shit together? You ain't doing shit here. I said, okay. So I moved to his ranch out in the middle of nowhere in Arizona, and it was a good starting point. I traveled around, going to rodeos with him, just kind of hanging out behind the scenes, having the best time of my life. Shit, I mean, it was party time. It was great.
And were you clean? Are you?
I'd stay. Yeah, I was drying.
Okay,
I
okay.
dried. I
Yep,
stopped.
yep.
No program or nothing. Just kind of stopped. And just bam. I had a girlfriend at the time. Left her. Because got her. We both got all fucked up on cocaine. She was productive. It was the best thing for me. I left her there, but eventually she came to Arizona. And let me back up a little bit though. But so I was in Arizona, and just hadn't really done much. Eventually, I met a guy who had a construction company, And I was looking for work, so I'm ready to start painting again. I need some money. You know, I love painting. I could hustle, and I was good at communicating with people and made friends in this little small town. And guy, he said, I got a job for you. He gave me a job painting his office, and he watched me work. He said, look, I got a proposition for you. He said, I'm getting ready to build about 30 houses. He said, I'll let you paint every one of them. He said, I'll help you. I'll set you up in business. I'll let my accountant, my bookkeeper, help you with your books, so you don't have to worry about getting in no trouble there. And you hire the painters, you know what you're doing. By then, I had been painting for about 10 years almost. I had 10 years, and I learned business through my dad, and I knew painting. So he did it. I'm taking off, man. I'm 5, 10, 15 grand a week. I'm working. I'm making plenty of money.
That's good money.
Yeah, I'm
sober.
making plenty of sober.
Ooh.
And I mean, I'm probably drinking, but eventually, got some buddies down from here, and man, they came down, started painting with me. I said, man, we in. Eventually, start using again. And man, now, but in a little small town, there was no cocaine. I had to drive 45 minutes to Phoenix to get the dope. So shit, I did. That wasn't no problem. I did it. Got the girl I was with back there with me, and shit, my brother, he came. He's like, man, you gotta get the fuck out of here.
Ooh.
You know, I
Saying
can't
that.
have this, man.
Right.
I'm trying to, I'm a public figure. I'm trying to win a world title, another world title. Just, he didn't want to see me like. Plus, it was some heartache. I remember I got so bad, man. My sister-in-law, she was pregnant. My brother was married. He had a wife and he had a kid. He had one child at the time, and then she was pregnant with the second one, my nephew, Daniel. And I remember I was getting, I'm so deep back into the addiction. My sister-in-law let me use her car. And I took it and went to Phoenix. And I didn't come back.
Oof.
I was broke. I had no money. I let these little dope dealers use the car, and they took the motherfucker. And my sister-in-law, they trying to find me. She went into labor. So
With
she
no
had
car.
with no car, and my brother was on the road. So that episode wasn't good. We talk about that. That's some wreckage. That's one of the things. Still got some pain behind that. But I got a lot of pride about where I am now to overcome that. I take pride in that. That was a lot of pain that I caused, that kind of havoc. I took the motherfucking car, she going to labor, I'm fucked off, up on the streets in Phoenix. I lost back to bottom again. I'm homeless. I can't go back there. I didn't burn bridges.
Right.
Shit, I'm popping all around Arizona. I remember living in abandoned houses in Tucson. I don't remember how the fuck I got to Tucson from Phoenix. That's opposite ends of the state. Get in trouble, get caught with some dope, catch a case, go to penitentiary for 6 months, 8 months, a year there in Arizona. That wasn't good. Got out. 85. So then I think 87 came back to Seattle. I didn't burn all the bridges. I got to get out. I got to get back to Seattle. My dad, come on back home, man. He was here. He said, come on back home, man. Trying to get your shit together. I came back, started working, but, I'm still in the mix. Now I'm selling drugs to state to get high. I ain't doing nothing big. Shit. Wound up catching a case here in Tacoma, actually. Did 4 years?
Damn.
Almost 4 years.
Damn, Larry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost 4 years for sales. But really, the amount, it was minimal. But it's what I deserved. When I caught the case, my dad, he came to me and came to visit me in Pierce County Jail. He's like, man, we got to get you out of this. He said, look, I'll hire you a lawyer, and we'll fight it, get with you. I said, no, Pops. This was in 1990.
I got to sit. You're like, I gotta sit this one
I
out.
said, Pops, I said, it ain't gonna fucking matter.
Right.
You know, it was, I won't even say it was hard for me to say that, but I didn't want him to fucking waste his money. And to be honest, it was a relief.
Right.
Because I wasn't gonna stop. I was probably gonna end up dead. You know, I hadn't found AA. I hadn't found none of that at that point. But I just know I didn't want to do what the fuck I had been doing. I knew that. And being in jail was a safe place for me. You know, I didn't know how else to not use. And so I went to prison for 3 years. I was sentenced to, I had an option. I remember my attorney, he came in with a deal. He said, look, here's a deal. A couple of things you can do. You can take it to trial. If you take it to trial and lose, you're going to get 120 months, which is 10 years. Or the plea bargain is 50 months, which was 4 years, 2 months. Or you can cooperate, basically snitch. So for me, that wasn't an option. And I explained that to my dad. And he said, snitching is not one of the options. So we're not doing that. I said, well, Pops, I'm going to probably take the plea bargain, man. And he's like, God damn. I said, because look, I did the shit. That's what the bottom line was. They had evidence for multiple sales to undercovers. And they had evidence, and the evidence was in writing, they had video. So I did the shit. I told him, I said, man, I did. I ain't gonna beat it. I mean, fuck it. Let's get this over with. So that was first time I got sober. I stayed sober. I went to the penitentiary. I got out, I think like in 95. I think that's what it was. No, I got out in 93. Get back out. I've been on the streets for a few months. Bam, back in the mix. Back in the mix.
Yeah.
All right. And get caught. At that time, they had drug court. I was like the first group to go through that drug court, alternative to prison program they had in 93. Going there, I remember Judge Martinez. He looked at me and he said, man, look, I'm going to give you a chance. Okay? He said, but we're going to defer your sentence. You caught. He said, but if you come back, you're going to do every fucking day. Just how he said it. And it was going to be like another 3, 4, 5 years. All right? So that was 93. I got sober 93, got a little time. I remember going to, in 95, I was in an Oxford house. I think I relapsed in between. I was kind of struggling back and forth. I remember having 45 days sober. And a guy who had previously lived in the Oxford house that I had gotten into, he would come by once a week, and he came by, Fred E. He came by, and he said, man, you want to go to the World AA Convention in San Diego? I ain't got no fucking money. I can't, I mean, I had a painting trade.
Yeah,
well, I had a painting
but-
trade. I had already gotten a job. Shit, once I got sober, I got a job back again, making $25 an hour. I was making good money right off the bat anyway, right off the, So I went to the World AA Convention. That was moving. Stayed sober for quite a while, and then met my ex-wife, 96. We had our daughter, 98. Got divorced. We got married. Got divorced, 2000. Still stayed sober. I think I stayed sober for about 13 years.
So in that 13 years, did things get better? And
Oh,
you
yeah,
were
yeah.
building
Oh,
it
man.
up. And
Like,
you're-
yeah. Things had gotten better, but I was still spiritually sick.
Okay. All right.
I wasn't using.
Yeah.
I wasn't using. Met a new lady in between there. We stayed together for a while, some years. I remember being 13 years sober, and I remember exactly how I relapsed. I had a little house, nice house, right down in Leschi, and
these neighborhoods you're living in are pretty nice, man.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
trying to super far.
Yeah. Hey, I lived in some
And where
fucked
you
up
live,
ones. So, no, I lived in shit.
Come on,
I lived
come
in
on.
plenty of fucked up
Yeah.
places.
All right, so you get
What
your
I-
shit together.
Get my
you're
shit
in
together,
Lakeside.
man. Business is good. I done started a new business. Business is good. I'm moving, going. See these two ladies. Their car break down at Leschi Park, right across the street from my house. Black lady, white lady. I was like, damn, it was cute. I was like, oh shit, y'all come on. You need some help. Car was overheating, and I help. I'm sitting on my porch chilling with a beer. I think at that point I was drinking beer. No, I wasn't even drinking yet. So I'm chilling on my porch, and yeah, come on. You got anything cold to drink? So I go and get them to drink. I'm looking. I'm like, shit. And they had that look. You can tell they was in the mix. They said, hey, can we, do a little something? I don't give a fuck, man. Bam. One hit is all it took. I'm back off to the races. 6 months later, I was homeless.
Wow.
I mean, this is after having thousands of dollars in the bank. Life was good again. Let's just say that. Relationship with my daughter was good. She had never seen me. My daughter had never seen me use her whole life. She was 9, 10, 11, something like that, 12 at the time. But I remember I was divorced, and I would pick her up Wednesdays, and then every other weekend was my time. I remember having her, after I had relapsed, having her over my house, driving her back home. And she looked at me and she said, Dad, I don't think I want to be with you for a little while.
What age was she?
12.
Oof. Heartbreaking.
I was like, damn. So that was eye opener.
So when this is on I need to get clear. When you're using, and are you smoking crack? So when you're smoking crack and you have your child, like, how did that? Is this something that you got to stay ahead of the game? Like, are you using and around her? Are you in the back room while she's watching television? And then you come
downstairs.
out
I go downstairs in the garage and come back. She's in her room.
And now you're zooted though.
You're zooming. You're zooming like a motherfucker.
Okay.
Shit. I mean, you trying to stay away, but hey,
But
kids,
you gotta
they know.
Yeah, and you gotta keep but you
But
gotta keep going.
not only that, Pete, it wasn't just the times I was actively high. It's just the energy I was letting out. She knew, because she knew how I was. My daughter, she was locked in with me. We had been close. She knew how I was. She just knew something was fucked up. Whether I was high at that moment or not, she knew. She could just tell. I mean, I could have not used for 2, 3, 4 days, if I went that long. But at that time, I was probably going a few days without, because I still was working and doing a little shit. But she knew, because there was a lot of bad energy I'm putting out. Yeah. So, and the thing about me and my addiction, I don't know, maybe like this for others, is the more I use, the guiltier I feel. The guiltier I feel, the more I use. So it kind of played both hand in hand. So I don't want to feel guilty. So what the fuck? Let me get high.
Get as high as you can to forget about how guilty you feel.
And then try and hurt and go to sleep or crash.
Yeah.
So you don't have to think about it. So, I mean, because there's no way I was going to fall asleep like I do now peacefully.
Yeah.
Shit.
I think that for me is one of the situations with Oxy. For me, it was like a sleep. It's like a downer, and so like you'd be so like guilty, and there's a lot of shame. And there's like, man, it's just this intense energy of like, man, this is not it. But what happened is you'd nod off into this like dreamy scenario. So it wasn't hard to like go to sleep. It was just hard that when you were awake, it was like, oh yeah, like this is hell. This is hell, because I couldn't like let it go. It was always like chasing the dragon, and so then sleeping was a way to until it was like in my dreams, a way to get away. And so, yeah, I can somewhat relate to that. But that crashing part was like almost like with Oxy, for me, it was like nodding off. And so that nod off was feeling so good. But when it was like awake time, it was terrible for the most part because I'm trying to chase it. Then I got to get higher because the guilt and the shame. Come on, man. And so, yeah, that was my experience on the Oxy. How about you, Rude?
Yeah, well, there just definitely wasn't no like going to bed type of like we do these days. Like switch the lights off.
Right.
Yeah, like,
Get all
exactly.
cuddle up
I'm
with your
good.
teddy
That's right.
bear. Yeah.
We wasn't doing all that, you know, and just waking up with that guilt and the shame and the remorse and just man, I don't miss those mornings, man. For me, after like cocaine and alcohol binge and just going hard for like 3 days and then just waking up like not knowing what I did and then just like you talk about that guilt and that shame kicks in and then that leads to more drinking, more using. That cycle was it was vicious. I just want to say too, man, like I've never heard your story, Larry, like raw and uncut the way you're giving it right now.
See, I thought you said you heard it, man. I'm
Not
like,
this
yo,
whole
dog,
version of
yeah,
it,
that's
though.
what I'm saying. The extended
this is
version.
real special for me because I've known you like half my life, and it's, you know, like you said, we're family, and I've chopped it up with you a little bit about, you know, your past and stuff like that, but I mean, just because you have a very unique personality, like anybody that meets you or gets to spend time with you, they can tell that right off the bat. And I've always wondered where you got that. I always thought, like, I never heard the story about the pimp earlier, and
Paul.
growing up, and pimp named Paul, and so like this is real special for me to understand the origin story about where you got your personality and all the stuff you've been through. I never heard about you getting shot in the leg before. I mean, that's crazy. I mean,
A lot of the things too, Rudy, it's holes. There's some holes in it because there's a lot of gaps, and there's things I still recall. Like, oh,
Right.
fuck, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
You know, and there's visions that I bounce around on in my life. Visions, you know, from experiences growing up in the 60s in LA during the Watts riots. Visions of seeing the National Guard walking down the middle of my street with machine guns and blackouts and coming over on bullhorns telling us we better not see anybody in the windows or else we're going to shoot to kill.
wow.
And I'm 7, 8 years old hearing that. I remember, it's a funny fucking story, getting robbed in L.A. Me and my partners walked up to the store. We were 9, 10-year-old little motherfuckers walking up the hill to the store with some change in our pockets. Motherfucker pull over in the car. Grown-ass man pull over in the car, get out with a gun. Said, hey, you little motherfuckers, give us your money. We better get $1 between the three of you.
Damn, robbed you for $1?
They need that dollar
$1.
Yeah.
I remember coming home from school one time, and this car is parked in front of our house. And I see this motherfucker just sitting there. You know, he's sitting in the car. Me and my buddy lived next door, and I'm going to walk in the house, and this motherfucker bumped the horn. I'm like, what the fuck? And then see this motherfucker come out the backyard with a fucking pillowcase of our shit.
Oh.
And you know?
Oh. See, I want to touch on what Rudy just talked about, though, which is this is exactly the way this podcast was envisioned to be, which is to tell your extended version of your story, because the rooms and places we go, it's not easy to hear everyone. People got shit to do.
Yeah.
They can't take the time usually to sit down and tell the story at least as much as we can get out of you, because of course you have this lifetime worth of experiences that will blow our socks off. And I think that this is just a prime example of just pausing and just saying, man, thank you for coming here and being so vulnerable, man, because like this is what we're looking for. This is the stuff that like this is the dream.
Well, for me, it ain't being vulnerable, man. It's just, you know, it's
your
just
story.
who I am.
Right.
It's my life, and I don't really have a lot of secrets. I mean, I have some private shit that, you know, hey, ain't everybody's motherfucking business. I don't give a fuck. You know, I mean, I'll tell some people some shit, but hey, some shit just ain't meant for everybody. And don't get me wrong, the rooms of AA carried a powerful, powerful place for me. But there reached a time where that didn't get it. And fortunately, God put a man in my life who understood that, my partner, Steve. and we met, and he, you know, I wasn't really honest. That whole sponsor thing, I just, and it's not that I didn't get it, but I needed something different. Let's just say that.
Now we're gonna go get to Steve. Now watch this. So you were relapsing, 13 years sober. Boom. Your daughter says, "I don't want to see you anymore. I think we need a break." So now you get on this run. You're running.
I go on a long run. I run more after that. So now I didn't got kicked out of my house. I'm homeless. The little house I had, I lost all. Matter of fact, I abandoned the shit.
You abandoned your home?
I pretty much.
Yeah.
I pretty much abandoned it. I mean, with shit all in it. I don't even remember what happened to that shit that was in there, man. I had
That's our house, right?
Yeah, like, it was a house full of shit, man.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a nice house, furniture, all kind of shit in there, man. And I wound up moving in this house with this lady over in like South Park, Burien, kind of White Center area up there, man. Shit, we smoking, selling dope to smoke. This is a cold story here. So we selling dope to smoke. Motherfuckers coming through every day. It's in a nice neighborhood, and she was in the situation still. She hadn't lost her house. She was buying a house actually, and I remember after being there, I don't know how long the time span was. So now we selling dope. Motherfuckers is coming in and out of there buying dope, leaving, smoking dope in there, leaving, blah, blah, all hours of the night. And I remember after one Friday night, Saturday morning, you know, we still had dope left over because this as a drug addict, it's rare I would wake up with dope left over. And, you know, I ain't going to sleep till all the motherfucking dope's gone, pretty much. That's kind of how I roll. But I got to the point now we able to re-up a few times, and we didn't, you know, fuck it, we're going to say something. We can go to sleep now. You know, we shit, because we can get up with a wake up.
Have something.
And have something.
Right.
You know, we good. Shit, we trading shit, buying shit. I mean, man, it seemed like, hey, everything is good. We balling.
I can wake up to some, I'm ready.
Hey,
We're all
I'm
right.
balling. I wake up with some dope. So I remember getting motherfucking knock on the door Saturday morning, me and her. We downstairs already in the basement, packaging up, getting ready for, you know, hey, we gone, bam, get that wake up, we ready to go knock on the door. She, because I think she might have been upstairs cooking or some shit. That's how good we were. We could motherfucking get high and eat at the same time. So, hey, so she comes downstairs to me, and she said, "It's the police at the door." She said, "Detective." And the motherfucker downstairs, I said, "Well, okay, what the fuck? You gotta let the motherfucker in. They know you're in there. I mean, shit." So we come upstairs, motherfucker, come on in. He said, "I'm Detective such and such, blah blah blah."
He's in the house with
He's
the
in the house, dope
smell.
downstairs,
Yeah.
downstairs
How
in the
you doing,
basement on the
detective?
table. Hey, and this was the beginning of my new sober time till right now. And he said, "Look, we know what the fuck y'all been doing here. You know, motherfucking city councilman lives down the street. You guys got a lot of traffic been coming in here for months, all hours of the night." And he said, "Look, that stops right now." He pointed at me, he said, "Look, motherfucker, you done been in enough shit. I done looked at your whole jacket. I know, you know, what you done been through. I know you done time." He said, "If you keep this shit up, you're going to get a case, and we're going to make sure you get slow walked through the motherfucking system. You're going to sit in the county jail for a year while your shit's going through the system." And her motherfucking ass sitting there, and I'm sitting there like, shit. He said, "Look, here's what's going to happen. Y'all going to quit selling dope out this motherfucking house. If I see one person come in this house and leave with some dope, I'm going to arrest the motherfucker. Every time somebody come in and out, I'm going to arrest them, and then I'm going to come get you." And then the coldest part was, he said, "Look, you two motherfuckers, y'all can go get your shit, come back here and get high as you want to motherfucking get." He said, "We not going to fuck with you. I don't give a fuck. But ain't nobody leaving here with no drugs they done bought from here. You understand?" I'm like, shit, hell yeah. So we can go get our shit and get high?
Right. Yes, sir.
Legal?
Right.
He said, "I'm not going to fuck with you. I promise
Right.
you." And he gets up and leaves. And her motherfucking ass, fuck that, they can't, I'm doing, they can't tell. Are you out your motherfucking mind? I said, the police and told us we can get high. Fuck that, I got to be able to sell. I said, we ain't making no goddamn money. What's wrong with you? We just, you know, and I told myself, like, shit, I got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So I think that Monday, I went to the welfare office and said, hey, I need a motherfucking bed somewhere. They said, well, we got a waiting list, you know, and we can help you, you know, get in there. So you got to get in the system. I think they put me on food stamps and all this shit so I could, you know. Meanwhile, I'm still staying with her, trading food stamps to get dry. I said, look, we ain't selling no dope. I need to go to make a delivery. I ain't doing shit. I said, I'm going to give you some shit. I'm going to sit here. So I think it probably took, because I told her, I said, hey, when they get a bed for me, I'm gone. I told her, I said, I'm over this shit. And so I got a good friend of me and Rudy's, old guy. He helped. He said, man, I'm going to help you. He said, man, you want me to send you to the Betty Ford clinic? I said, no, man, that's a fucking waste. I said, I ain't that kind of dope fiend. That ain't going to get it for me. I said, okay. He said, well, whatever you need, you let me know. And so they called me with a bed. They said, you got to keep calling in. I was calling every motherfucking day. It took probably about a week or so. They got me a bed. They said, the only bed we have is in Spokane. So I had a little car. They said, the only bed we have is in Spokane. Can you be there like Monday? Or it was like Friday. He said, can you be there Monday? I said, I'll be there. I mean, I proceeded to get high all motherfucking weekend. I got my car, drove to Spokane. I smoked dope all the way there because the point is you're not supposed to show up high. So you can't show up high. You can't show up with no drugs. It's just we won't let you in. So I showed up there. I parked my shit, and they said, well, we got to have your keys. They took my keys. They said, you high? I said, mm-mm. I was high as fuck. They knew I was, but they let me in that, you know, I think it was like a 28-day thing, man. I got some clarity, and you know, after you quit using for a minute, you get some clarity, things, that fog starts clearing out. I'm going, you know, motivated again. And so that's kind of beginning of this journey. That's where I got to then, man. It's I think for me, just thinking about some of this stuff now, it definitely brings up a lot of gratitude, but also humility, because I know how powerful and how deep my addiction runs. And that's why I definitely hold on to, of all the things I lost, it's my mind I miss the most. Because when I relapsed after being sober for 13 years, and people said, man, how the fuck, after you sober 13 years, you gonna go back to that all of a sudden? And I tell you, it wasn't all of a sudden. There was a lot of shit that led up to me getting to that point. You know, I remember looking back, I remember creeping in the way I did business. You know, being just dishonest, just little things. Being dishonest. Not doing the best project I could. Not caring about my work. Getting away from golf. Even cheating at golf. Just living a life and from the inside that wasn't healthy. Now, I ain't saying perfect. I ain't saying fucking all high morality. But just, for me, I know now what ain't right. It's not that complicated. If something's not right, I know. For me, man, I don't do that shit. That's not right. You know, and I ain't just talking about no thoughts, because thoughts come, and you know, like goddamn, and they come, bam. I think about some shit now, like, ooh, but wait a minute, you can't do that. That get you fucked up, and that's where having that experience of knowing what fucks me up, you know, and it's not really even a fear. It's a fact. And kind of at the point to where I kind of lost the desire to do a lot of bullshit. I just don't have the energy for it. Now, granted, I could walk out of here right now, see something outside that could trigger me, but I keep that front and center. Because, like I said, of all the things I lost, I miss my mind the most. And once I get to the point where I know I can always figure shit out or always have an answer or always think that I have the power or the strength or the ability to, or think that I've conquered my addiction.
Yeah.
Or even the desire to conquer it. Now it's, man, hey, I'm good just staying right in the middle. I don't need to be on a high horse or I don't need to be on a low horse. I'm good just, staying at peace. And that's really how I live. I live a lot of days doing not much. Being at home with my wife, that's my best friend. I mean, God puts who he wants in front of you. I'm grateful for that. She is definitely the person for me.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, when you say God puts the people in front of you too, like, because I remember when you went back out, because I knew you before when you were sober, when you had the 13 years, and I remember, and you mentioned golf. I met you while I was working at a golf course, and you were involved with a group of golfers there, and we became friends. But I remember when you went back out, people were like, man, I was like, where'd Larry go? And they were like, Larry's gone. That's all they would say. They were just like, Larry's gone. And then I started to hear little stories and stuff, and then you came back. And that's when I was really struggling. And then that's when we started talking. And I remember one time, real specifically, I was working in the restaurant in this golf course, and the restaurant was closed. All the seats were on the tables, and everything was all cleaned up. And I was getting ready to shut down, and you had just come in from a golf round. And, man, we had about a 2-hour conversation. And, yeah, I remember it very specifically.
As long as you remember that.
Because I used to come in real hungover to the golf course, and I was struggling. And I think I heard the story about, you went out, you came back, and I was just curious about sobriety at the time. And I'm just real grateful for that. That one conversation really meant a lot to me.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. I remember when one of the things you were telling me, and I shared about this in one of the other podcasts, you told me that, look, Rudy, if you take one step forward for yourself, others will take 2 steps for you. And that always, like, I don't know, I always remember that. It's like implanted in my head. And I tell that to other people, like, that I think that, that come to me that are struggling with this disease. I tell them that very same line, and it's because it's true. And I started doing that, and then, some people around me, like, kind of formed a support system around me after I learned that from you. And that stemmed from that one conversation. Is I don't remember the entire conversation, but I remember that line specifically stood out to me.
Well, I appreciate that, man, because I think as a dysfunctional myself and maybe others that are dysfunctional and people that have gotten some peace in their life and some sobriety, if that means peace for them. But for me, it seems like there's always an unattended person who says something that makes a difference. And I kind of touched on a little earlier when I met Steve in an AA meeting, because I had been going to AA meetings, man, but they just weren't having the impact for me. I mean, and I was staying sober, but man, I needed something more. I wanted something more. Yeah, I want to quit drinking. Man, fuck this. I don't want to do this shit no more. Like a lot of people. But I remember Steve, he said, man, look, I'm going to make you a motherfucking guarantee. He looked at me. He said, man, I'll make you a guarantee. I said, huh? That you'll never have to stop drinking. I said, that's bullshit. He said, I'm going to make you a guarantee. You won't ever have to drink a drug again in your life if you do some things. He said, you ain't got to be perfect. You just got to do some shit to the best of your ability. I said, what? He said, man, Larry, I'm telling you. He said, if you think I'm, call bullshit on it. He said, you can call me on some bullshit. He said, but you know, you do them, it ain't on my ability. I'm not going to have you, you ain't going to have to live your life hiding in no closet. You ain't going to have to live your life where you can't have the scent of alcohol. You know,
Can't watch a commercial with Budweiser.
yeah, where you won't have to live your life with your eyes closed.
Mm.
You know, you'll be able to live your life like other free people do.
Ooh, you can go where any free man
I
can
said,
go.
man, that's some bullshit. And I looked at it, and I remember exactly how I felt when he told me that. It was some relief, because nobody had ever said that to me. And
Like there was a solution to what you've been searching for. You've been wandering around trying to figure this out.
well, I hadn't even, you know what? It's not that I had even really tried to figure it out. I didn't even fucking have a clue.
You weren't
I didn't even know where to begin.
What you
So
were
it
looking
wasn't
for.
right, exactly. So
Right.
it wasn't even about trying to figure out what not to figure, what to do, what not to do. I didn't have a fucking clue. I don't even know if I had a desire, because it just seemed like impossible. This is how the fuck I'm gonna be.
Yes, sir.
You know, you see me coming motherfucker across the street, I ain't up to no good. And Steve said that to me. He said, man, and he used to tell me his stories. We talk, and he said, Larry, I used to be the kind of motherfucker, man. You see me coming, you cross the fucking street. I said, man, that's how I feel. I ain't think nobody ever felt like that. Nobody else felt like that. And I mean, there's things he said that I related to, and it hit home. And when he said that to me, and when we talked, he didn't talk to me as no sponsor, motherfucker. You got to hold this carry. He didn't, I'm going to humiliate you. I got to humble you.
Oh, yeah.
And he ain't doing none of that kind of shit. He said, Larry, this is all going to be based on your relationship with God and your experiences.
Ooh.
He said, it ain't going to have shit to do with me in the end. And that's what made the difference for me, because he said, you're not going to have to rely on me or nobody else to live your life with some peace. He said, you're going to develop a relationship with God, and that's going to be your relationship based on your experiences. And for me, that's where my faith in God comes from. 110%. Ain't no doubt. I don't rely on no person to strengthen or lessen my relationship or my faith in God. And it's not for everybody. It's not based on what the Bible says. It's not based on what the Quran says, the Torah, any readings or teachings. My faith is based on my experiences, on how I felt when my ass was on fire. No other solutions. How I felt when I was selling dope in Tucson in the wrong neighborhood, and these motherfuckers said, man, you can't sell no dope here. And I told them to go fuck off. And the motherfuckers jumped me, and they had me on the ground, had a big ass brick finna come down on the top of my head. And I moved at the right instant, and that brick crashed into the ground. And a split second later, police sirens start coming off, and that made everybody scatter from that little drug selling area. For me, I know what that's like. That was God for me. I know what it felt like when I fucked my brother over that had won a world title, and I took the car, and that guilt was eating away at me. I left. I wouldn't call my mother back, and I'm living in abandoned houses down in Tucson, Arizona, just getting high and trying to do whatever, fucking selling aluminum cans so I can go get another hit, and feeling so fucking guilty because I can't get high enough to chase it. And not only can I not get high enough, I can't even hustle up to get enough dope to get high. You know, to get that feeling again, that euphoria from that first hit. So, and I remember what it's like having that feeling and that guilt, sitting in Tucson, going to sleep at a bus stop. after getting kicked out of a fucking abandoned house. Somebody, because some other homeless motherfuckers wanted to die. Man, you gotta get the fuck out of here. You ain't, you gotta go. So, I remember leaving that abandoned house and wandering around all fucking night and sitting down on a fucking bench at a bus stop, falling asleep, waking up in the morning, hot in the motherfucker in Tucson, Arizona, cars and shit passing by, waking me up. So much guilt, shame, hurt. I said, fuck it. As soon as the right trucks comes by, I'm stepping in front of that motherfucker. I know what that feeling's like. And I can recall on that feeling right now, anytime, because that's a relationship with God. I said, no, you're not stepping in front of no trucks. You're going to make it through it. So that's why I live today with no fear, because I know that God ain't took me through all that to drop me on my head right now. There's things that I got to do. I'm grateful for God's presence in me. I'm grateful for the gift that he gives me to give of myself. There is nothing more precious, and there's nothing more meaningful and more pleasing than when I give of myself, whether it's caddying on a golf course to some person that's never played golf before and helping them enjoy the experience of a lifetime at a special place, or whether it's being out with some of the best golfers in the world and being in that heat of battle, in a tournament, in competition, under that pressure, and providing stabilizing and calming energy to that person that's going through it. So, and now not even that, being in a caddy house with somebody, a caddy that may be in addiction, going through a problem, and picks up on, man, you're in recovery. And being able to say, yeah, man, it's a gift being able to give something to somebody and not want anything back. I mean, that's real special for me.
So one of the things that my curiosity has always been around with your two's relationship is you have this common sport of golf. And when I first met Rudy was real humble about his ability to play. And as the further I got along knowing him, there was a situation where I was like, so, like, how good are you, dog? Like, what's up? Like, and he's like, well, Pete, and he tells a story about where he was hanging out at the golf club, and he was working there, and he got good, and practiced a lot, and there was this one day, me and my guy Cap, Antonio Capello, we had him, like, I was like, can you come golf with us, Rudy? And so we do this, like, what's it called, like the practice 9 or like
the short 9.
The short nine. We're doing a short. Well, this guy comes out with this bucket hat. This is Rudy. He comes out with this bucket hat and he's got this like ball gun thing.
One of the pickers.
Yeah, he's got a picker.
Shag bag.
And he's got the shag. Now, me and my guy Cap, we're getting ready to start, and then Rudy's just like in his own little area, and he's dropped like 8 balls, and he's just hitting, and he's like, no, you guys go ahead. And I was like, well, aren't you going to play with us, man? And you were like, well, it's okay. And so then I got kind of, and then he would pull up to us as we're playing, as we're hacking away. I'm trying to learn the game, and he doesn't really want to teach because he says, oh, I'm not a teacher yet. He hasn't taught me anything yet, right? But he'll pull up and he'll start hitting these balls, and all right, watch it, boom. I'm like, man, hold on, man. This guy's a little hustler. He's a little hustler, right? So I wouldn't have picked him out of a lineup to say, all right, who do you think is a golfer here? That's just my personal thing. I was like, I don't. You play golf like, and so then, but I learned about your relationship with him, and I learned that you're a caddy, and I learned that you guys go and play at these beautiful golf courses. Doesn't have to always. Well, most of them are all beautiful, but like these really nice ones, high end ones, or wherever you guys are just going. And I'm getting these little clips of where Rudy's been and hitting the ball, and so how did you guys? How did you get to golfing and like caddying? Like what was that story about?
So, interesting. So that's one of them God things. So 2011, I've been divorced. My daughter was 2 years old, but she lived in Seattle, and I co-parented with my ex-wife, even after for the most part. One, I was sober, and so I had relapsed and got back sober, and then thing was going pretty good for a year or two. I think my daughter was probably heading toward the end of middle school, and she had some personal stuff. She had tried to commit suicide for some of her personal issues, and she got back healthy, and eventually her mom, my ex-wife, said, we want to move to Atlanta with her best friend was there, and they had a son. Her best friend had a son that was the same age as my daughter, and they had been friends forever. And her son and my daughter are the same age. They were like god brother, god sister, and she had always wanted to live in the same city with her. So she said, we're moving to Atlanta. And I was like, fuck, you gotta be kidding me. I finally got my shit together, and I'm like, man, I ain't gonna see my daughter. And that was like probably May, around this time of year. And she said, and my daughter.
May, what year are you talking?
2011.
Okay, all right.
And I was like, fuck. And I could fight it because I had, I'd been to court, got my shit back together, and got my rights back, and we were co-parenting. We had a parenting plan saying, hey, if somebody wants to move states, they have to go through the courts and get approval, all that. And my daughter said, Dad, yeah, I think I want to change the scenery. I said, okay, if you think, she was 12. She was old enough she had voiced what she wanted. And I said, okay, if that's what you want to do, then I won't, try and fight it. You go ahead and go. And they left. And so I think a month later they left. So I think like a little bit after they left, I was talking to a buddy of mine who used to live here, and he had moved to Georgia. And he said, man, if you want to come caddy, I can get you on here. I had never caddied before. I've been around golf since, I was in my 20s, but I had never caddied. I never even thought about being a caddy. I was a painter. And the thing about painting in Seattle is seasonal. So the caddying season ran when it was slow for painting here in Seattle. It was either I had been contemplating moving or going to Las Vegas with another buddy of mine who was a painter down there. He said, man, we can hustle up. Painting's good here.
Right, it's like year round.
Year round, right. No, it's year round in Vegas. Yeah. Year round in Vegas. It was booming. He said, man, we got all kind of work down here. You can come here and work. And so my buddy said, man, you can come caddy. I said, well, let me think about it. And also, I had just met recently, I think shortly after that, I might have just been with, she was my girlfriend, my wife at the time, Penny. We hadn't been together that long. And so I told, we talked about it. And I said, hey, Kenny said I can come here and go to Georgia and caddy. She said, well, hey, if it's what you want to do, then why would I stop you? So that's, that was real strong. So it was only part of the year as well.
So are you caddying for like one guy?
Now I do, but it's at a club. It's
okay.
Called a club caddy. I never caddied. So I started doing that in 2011. And being a club caddy is more, basically like providing a service. You don't normally at the outset, you don't really have to be real knowledgeable about what to do, what not to do, where to go, and all that kind of stuff. It's really about providing a service, kind of like what somebody at a restaurant would do. You provide good service and help people enjoy their experience when they come to the special golf course.
Right.
So that's kind of what the hope is for the caddy company. Hey, we hire some people. They kind of is more focused on type of service you provide.
It's
So-
not like instruction, and you're not
No,
like,
no,
yeah,
you're not doing
your
all that.
7-iron
Right,
and do
no. Well, as not at the outset,
Right.
But it depends on how good you want to be.
right.
So for me, I liked it, and I wanted to be. Once I started doing it, I invested myself into it. I had a friend who told me, "Man, no matter what you do, I don't do it half-ass." So I took pride and I started learning. And that's kind of where, like I said, where God came in. It worked out so I could go there to be closer to my daughter part of the year. And I would, she was about 2 hours from where I was working. So I would go to Atlanta maybe twice a month. I'd go to some of her school activities, go to the game. Then I'd pick her up. We go do stuff. We drove to Tennessee. We drove to North Carolina to the games. We went to Seahawks game. Went to a lot of different events. So, and it mattered. It mattered to her. It mattered to me. Me being close to her part of the year. So that was fortunate.
That's that God stuff.
That's that God stuff,
Yeah.
brother. God worked it out. So
Right.
So anyway, they left in June of 2011. And October 2011, I started working in Georgia at the
Yeah.
golf course part of the year. So
Yeah.
that was, and I worked on my craft, and that was, what's this? That's 12. This is going on my 13th season doing it. My daughter, she graduated from high school. She went to college in Chicago. Now they graduated and they still live in Chicago. I still go to Georgia. We own a house there or a condo there. I go there. I've traveled to China caddying. I've caddied at Pebble Beach. I've caddied, for professionals, top professionals in the world, amateurs. I love doing it.
Do you so I just get so curious about this. So do you like have certain people like do you have like people that you just work with or like your guy? You got a guy.
So now going forward, because I want to start being home more. I want to start being in Seattle and being close to my wife and my dog's family house and my painting business I have here. So I have a couple of members, and so now going forward, I'm pretty much kind of just going to go back and forth when they're there.
Okay, so you're no longer giving that service.
I'm giving the service to him.
Right, but
we've developed. So we're
friends.
friends now. We've developed a
Yeah.
friendship, and he wants me there when he's there. We talked about this. He said, "Man, well, I want you here when I'm here."
Yeah.
I said, "I want to be," and I've developed a relationship with his family. We're close. He's close to my wife, so we're friends. We're like family now, and so it's a special place for him, and it's a special place for me, and we enjoy spending that time together.
And it's
on the
just a
golf
special
course.
It's just a special
It's a
place.
special place, and he
It's-
enjoys being on the golf course. We enjoy being together. It's just one of them things.
Yeah.
And hey, God worked it out, so that can happen.
Yeah, and Larry's being humble right now. He works at one of the most prestigious golf courses in the world.
Hey man, he's been super humble today. Just get that straight.
No,
That's
hey,
amazing.
hey.
It's amazing though. What? Yeah.
That ain't me. That ain't.
I know.
Hey, that ain't my shit. That's God's stuff. It
Yeah.
don't belong to me.
Speak that. Yeah.
Hey, I'm telling you, man. And plus, so one thing, man, is at the end of the day, and there's very few of us when we're on our last breath gonna talk about what we didn't have.
Mm.
We're gonna probably be talking about what we didn't get a chance to do, and there's even few of us. I really now this is one thing I'm not humble about. Okay.
Okay.
So it's really special for me to be able to touch people. There is no greater joy I get. That's the one thing that sends me to the moon. Being able to connect somebody else with the access that I have. And I got some access to some opportunities and experiences that I don't get to enjoy them if only I get to enjoy them. I get a lot more pleasure out of helping others with that access to whatever event, to speaking with somebody, to an opportunity, or just mentoring. You know, that's a joy very few people get to experience. Like, fuck, I was able to really help somebody get somewhere. I ain't humble about that.
Well, and I'm one of the ones that, like, you're a mentor to me. You know, you provided me that access over, like, for example, when I turned 1 year sobriety, you invited me to come out to Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, to play one of the most prestigious golf courses in the world. And you had access to that, and you provided and invited me, and as a celebration for turning 1 year sobriety birthday. But it goes way beyond that, and I'm just one of many. Like, I mean, you work with kids too, you know, small kids that have potential golf careers ahead of them. You've touched a lot of people in this lifetime already, and I mean,
well, I kind of, like I say, hey, that ain't me. That's God, bro. That's God. You know, because it's connected to me staying right in the middle. Without no God, ain't no none of that for me. Now, like I said, everybody else got their own shit. I keep mine plain and simple.
What are some of the practices that you do to stay in the middle? Like are there some rituals that you do, or is it morning stuff? Is it what's your thing?
It's daily.
Yeah. Okay.
There's really no rituals. I don't think, Pete. It's just staying accessible. You know, staying honest with myself as far as, you know what, there's a God that ain't me. And of all the things I lost, I miss my mind the most. You think I'm bullshit when I say that. You know, I was just a fucking saying. That's bullshit. I know that, man, because when I fucking think I'm too smart, when I start thinking I'm better than that person or that motherfucker ain't shit, then that's some shit going on in my head that's going to get me to somewhere that's real fucked up. I don't have no doubt about that. So I don't want to lose that compassion for others. And when I lose that, that means I'm getting away from God. When I start becoming so judgmental, and don't get me wrong, I have opinions about people, and I talk shit, you know, when I'm on one, or, man, this motherfucker, I can't, you know, I do it just like everybody else. And I get angry or upset, or I hate that motherfucker, this motherfucker, I can't stand. You know, I go there too, but I think what helps me is not staying there. You know, that and not only that, acknowledging, like, man, you in a fucked up place. You know,
Yeah,
like, man, that's some fucked up shit.
Yeah.
Like, damn, motherfucker, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just, hey, back that ass up for a minute. You know, and the ability a lot of times, Pete, because when I'm in Georgia at my place, there, I'm either working on the golf course or I'm golfing on the golf course, and because ain't much else to do in that little city. So,
How do you so interestingly enough, you're away from Penny and you're like at this condo all by yourself, and like, is there is there thoughts of deviation? Is there thought and
yeah, okay. You want? Hey, I'm gonna keep it real. Who the fuck? Yeah, of course there is. But look,
okay.
Okay, it's too much
Yeah.
like fucking work. Okay, and I've told this to Penny. I was like, look, I'm not fucking around. It's too much work. The only way I would, and it ain't happening, I would be a deviant and go mess with some other women. I have to pat them on the head and their panties fall down. Okay, that shit ain't happening nowadays. So, and man, I don't have the energy to do that kind of shit like that, man. I mean, I ain't perfect. I can't say what I will or won't do. Putting something in front of me, but I'm not. That's part of staying kind of in the middle because I ain't willing to go out and do a bunch of fucking lying, courting to some women, and because I got a movie of my own of what that leads to, and that's part of it. For me, that's the Achilles. That's my Achilles heel, man. A female, hey, fuck it, she fine, boy. I sure want to hit that. So that means, look, there's a lot of shit that can go wrong. No, not that will go wrong once I start that kind of shit, Pete, because of my experiences. And they ain't no lie. That's the truth. That ain't no fucking theory. This is exactly what has happened to me in my past when I had 13 years sober. Okay, here comes some females. Let me holler at them. Okay, I holler at them. Lo and behold, them motherfuckers smoke crack. Fine ass female, looking good as hell. Pull up right on a dead. I'm living on a dead end street in Leschi. Sunday evening, about 6 o'clock. It's quiet as hell. Ain't nobody there. Their car breaks down at a park right across the street from my house on a dead end street.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You see what I'm saying?
You got to go through it to get to it, huh?
And that sent me 6 months later. I'm homeless. So that's my story. I have no doubt. It may not happen exactly like that. It may not happen that quickly, but based on what's happened to me in my past, it's a pretty good chance I start doing a whole bunch of bullshit, trying to, sleep with or a bunch of different women, lying, cheating, fucking them up now, because 40, 50, 60-year-old women, they ain't trying to just do no booty call. They want a man. And that's what I tell folks, man. They ain't trying to be no damn side chick, And so that means I got to do a bunch of lying to them and my wife. Eventually that shit catches up. Not only that, I mean, it's going to catch up. And now what? It's a lot of havoc. So I sit my ass still a lot of nights, pretty much every night. I don't go nowhere. I tell you, I'm working on the golf course or I'm playing on the golf course. I don't even go out to eat. It's not because I'm hiding in the closet. I like to cook. I love to cook. That's one of my favorite things to do is cook. And so I enjoy that. I like to read. Love to read.
What book you reading right now? You got anything on the tip of your tongue?
I just finished John Connolly. So I'm reading a book called The Furies. It's fiction, but there's some fact and fiction too. Though. But that's what I'm reading right now, and I read mostly when I'm flying at the airport traveling. So I do that quite a bit.
But what you said there, Larry, about like it's not a theory, it's your experience, because you always drilled that home to me that like with my recovery journey is very personal to me, and I don't have to look too far as searching for recovery. I got to look at my own experiences, you know, with my experience with God, my experience with drugs, my experience with alcohol, and like it's your experience is your experience, and Pete's experience is Pete's experience, because I just feel like a lot of times it could get easily kind of mixed up. Like I'm trying to learn from you. I can learn from your experiences, but my own experience is going to be the best teacher and my best, I got to go inside.
It's like your best tool. That's your best tool.
That's 100.
Yeah.
That's 100.
Yeah.
There is no great experience in your own. My shit about you is my shit for you. I can tell you 100% what's best for you, but that shit may not work. It may have you all fucked up. I ain't got your answers. Yeah. Just like you don't have mine. But what happens a lot of times, especially, I won't even say new in sobriety, just at times when we're going through something, we need some help. So we're looking for some answers. And we don't always know or have the strength. I don't always have the strength, power, whatever. The faith, the belief, that connection with God to find the answer. I'm looking to somebody, man, what should I do? And so we seek a lot of different input from a lot of different people.
Right.
And sometimes it's not always healthy, right, accurate. You know, it's what they think is best for us. You know, and that's based on their experiences.
Right.
Right. 100%.
And it's not that they have ill intentions. It's just, you know, hey, motherfucker, look, carry this motherfucking teddy bear around because we want you to feel humble, to humiliate yourself so you can be humble. You too arrogant, you too this, you too that. So do this. But going back to, you know, the studying and the workshop that I did to get some tools to live sober.
What are some of those tools?
So some of those tools were being honest with yourself. You know, you base it all on your truth and experience. That's one thing my good buddy Alvin and Steve Larry, you know, you got all your own answers. Just base some shit on your experience. Don't even deviate from that. If you base it on your shit, that's one of the tools. The other one, the one I probably use the most, Rudy, is sitting still.
Yeah, you talk about standing pat with me before.
Standing pat. That's the one that works for me, man, more than anything, because I get impulsive if I'm sitting by myself, bored as fuck, fucking with my phone, run across a number, like, oh, what's up? You know, what the fuck? I mean, shit, I got motives. I mean, call somebody, hey, oh man, I ain't talking to her in hella. And before you know it, before I know it, you know, this shit done took a life of its own. So that's why it's essential for me to stand pat. 99% of the time. You know, now probably the biggest risk I try and take, and I've said, is going for a par 5 and 2 over water. If you ain't a golfer, you may not be able to relate.
I can add it up. All right.
Well,
it sounds good, golfer
yeah,
guys.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm trying to fucking go for the green. Go for the green over water when I know my ass don't hit the ball far enough. So that's probably the ball's probably going to end up in water, but that's okay. It's just, you know, I can hit another shot. I don't like it, but that's what I'm saying in relationship to the kind of risks that I'm willing to take. I ain't really trying to take risks where I'm gonna meet somebody in a grocery store or go to a fucking club or go to a bar to see what's up and see some fine chick sitting there. Now I gotta start yapping and telling her, you know, don't get me wrong, I've gotten close. I've even called a few, but it didn't work out. And I stopped. I was like, wait a minute. Fuck you doing? You know, don't take it no further. So, and it's a daily thing. It ain't no, I got it. I'm there.
So if somebody's struggling out there right now, can you give us something that maybe they can hang their hat on today? Like
you ain't alone. You are not alone. You know, if you take one step, it's a guarantee somebody gonna take 2 for you. That's the hardest thing in the world to do, is ask for help, because you don't know how to fucking ask for help. And once you find the right person that you relate to, you don't have to try and say a bunch of shit. They'll know. You know, just be around somebody with some good energy. You know, and you ain't got to do a bunch of talking and figuring out shit. Just, you know what, man, I'm going to just kick it with you. Let me say this and we'll finish. I had a friend when I had relapsed the last time, and he had been trying to get a hold of me for months and months and months and months. He had a lot of resources, a lot of access. He couldn't because I was hiding. I didn't want to talk to the motherfucker because I felt guilty and shame, and I didn't want him to see me like this. I didn't want him to hear me like this. And he finally got a hold of me. He said, man, I'm going to tell you something. I'm your friend, whether things are good or whether things are bad in your life, or not good. That's how he said it. And he said, here's what I want you to do. He came up with a formula. He said, I want you to call me every day. Every day. And we're going to get through this. He said, I'm not going to ask you what you're doing, how you doing, when you doing. I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning. I just want you to connect with me. That's what he was saying. He said, just call me. I ain't, that's all I want you to do. And I did. He said, can you promise me that? He said, that's all. And that's what I did. So find a friend like that you can connect to, and you ain't got to have a bunch of answers, and they ain't going to ask a bunch of questions. That's what I mean by if you take one step, somebody will take two. That person took 2 steps for me and beyond.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I know I got 2 of those friends at this table with me, and I just want to say thank you for coming here and sharing your truth with us, Larry.
I mean, that was Larry. We learned a lot. I mean, man, that was epic right now. I appreciate your story. Again,
it helps me, Pete.
Yeah.
It helps me. I appreciate it.
And we'd love to have you back too.
Yeah,
That'll
come
be
on.
an ongoing thing. So
come on, Larry.
Yeah, appreciate you.
I think that'll wrap, Larry. Hey, appreciate your time and
love and respect, baby.
love you, man. Thank
Okay,
you.
do I have to grow a
Hey,
beard next
it's
time? I
beer
can grow
time.
one. I can grow one.
Beer
Hey,
time,
I
baby.
yeah,
We
I
got
can
the
grow a
Fiji
beard.
water, man. You gotta
I can
drink
grow a
up.
beard.
Oh, you can? All right.
I can grow a
Oh,
beard.
you can?
Yeah.
All
I'll
right,
show you
man.
some
Bring
shit.
it next time.
Next time.
Bring it next time.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right.
Thanks,
Love
Mondo
and respect,
Color
Rudy
Studio.
Rhodes.
All right, man. Thanks everybody out there, and man, episode 5. That's a wrap.